Hello, welcome back to the Essence Beauty Bar podcast. This is officially my first YouTube podcast, and I am going to be sharing some interesting things with you guys today. A two-part series on fear: what fear is, where did it come from, why do we fear, and how can we transcend and learn to live with it. Fear is a state of survival. Fear is a perspective that we learn to cope with and live with as a way to survive. I had a very exciting time doing research on fear because I feel like we've all gone through fear, we all experience it, we all try to find ways we can cope without having to constantly fear. Fear originates from the primal brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for surviving and sensing danger around us. The amygdala is the first functioning brain, which means upon existence, this is the first brain that we human beings learned to function with. This was so interesting to find out because it really just got into the root of what fear is and where it comes from. Fear comes from a part of our genetic makeup that is responsible for keeping us alive and sensing dangers and threats around us. This part of the brain is connected to the vagus nerve, which is connected to the limbic system. The limbic system is responsible for picking up emotional triggers, traumas, personal experiences that we might have gone through that could have sensed to our bodies that was a danger. Now that we've come to the awareness of where this emotion or chemical reaction lives, I am going to share some ways that we can learn to identify, to change, to transmute, to transcend fear. I believe everything in life is something we can grow through if we learn to transmute our fears. Let me talk a little bit about the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for picking up on dangers, threats in order to help the human being survive. Let's say you grew up in a toxic environment or an environment that was not healthy at all. It means that this part of your primal brain will pick up on a lot of ways it can protect you because you grew up in a very high risk or high negative environment. The limbic system picks up on our environment, the things that threaten our existence, and it reports back to that part of our brain. I am still very sensitive, and I didn't like how I was very highly triggered by people and their emotions and what they may be going through that has nothing to do with me. I just got so tired of having to deal with that I had to find ways to heal myself from the things that I didn't even decide for myself. So when I came to do my research on fear and I found out that the limbic system is the emotional part of us, it was so exciting because now I at least know why I am the way I am. It offers an explanation to the triggers in my emotion when a human being fears. There is a chemical reaction that is sent to your brain made up of adrenaline and cortisol, which are responsible for preparing your body in readiness for danger. So let's pretend we bring this human being who has only ever learned to survive. They've never had safety around them, they've only ever learned to survive. They've only ever known trigger. Bring this human being who is used to living such a life, even if they're going through a regular experience, an experience that might not even be that bad, they're gonna have a bad experience as compared to someone who did not have that many triggers because then their main DNA, their first primal instinct, their first brain has only ever learned to survive. And that's what I need us to understand in this series is that the biological makeup of your human body has only ever existed to keep you alive. It's picked up on cues that have kept you going without your permission because at the time you were too young to decide what is safe and what is not. So your body learned to do that for you. And now that I'm at a place where I'm a grown up and my body has already learned on its own ways to protect me and ways to cover for me, I catch myself fearing being triggered by things that don't even make sense anymore. I had always had to go to school. I always had to make very long transits when going to school back in the day. So I was always rushing. I stayed at least 20 miles away from my school and I had to transit with public transportation every day. So throughout my life, especially as a child, I learned to rush, and even now, as an adult, even when I have all the time in the world and have my own business, I catch myself rushing because that's the way I learned to survive. My body doesn't translate as, oh, Rachel, you're running late. It's the survival part of your body just knows life and death. So it's either we're keeping her alive oh, this is killing her, let's save her. So you need to understand things that come as triggers to you. You need to be very aware of, because they send death threats to your system. Literally, every time you fear, every time you're uncomfortable, every time you're in a state of being that is not calm, you are sending death threats to your nervous system. And that's why we need to sit in this topic right now and dissolve this feeling, this emotion, and this state of being called fear.